Shots from the Winchester podcast presents Shots on the Go, brought to you by Greencastle Consulting, your nation's premier strategy execution firm. On this season of Shots on the Go, we're exploring veteran-owned and operated businesses who are vendors at the upcoming annual Vet Fest put on by Greencastle Consulting in Malvern, Pennsylvania in September. Vet Fest highlights some of the area's most outstanding veteran-owned and operated businesses. So let's introduce you to one of our newest Vet Fest vendors, Ellie Mental Health.
My name's Tom DeVitis.
Tom DeVitis.
Yeah, I'm the clinic director. I am a LPC, licensed professional counselor. I'm also a CAADC, which is Certified Advanced Alcohol and Drug Counselor.
Your company is going to be a part of Vet Fest this year.
Yes.
Yeah. Were you at Vet Fest last year?
No, so actually we're a new clinic. We had our grand opening this past October.
Fun.
So this will be our first Vet Fest, and hopefully many more to come afterwards. I'm really excited, though, for the opportunity to be able to help out the veteran community in this area, for sure. Yeah.
So what are some of the services that you have for veterans?
So we have many full-time therapists. We have many full-time therapists who work with who have different experience. I would say that one of our therapists who would probably be one of the best fits is our therapist, Nick Sheridan. He works with all types of different populations, but he is certified in EMDR, which is for individuals that struggle with PTSD. It is a very specialized service that you need to get certified in. It's short-term based, but studies find that after having gone through the EMDR process, the symptoms relating to PTSD are drastically diminished. So it's really, really exciting that we were able to have him. And also, too, we have therapists that work with families and kids. So families that of veterans, kids of veterans, a lot of times any issue that a person's coming in with, it's not just them that are affected, it's the whole family that is affected. So we would be glad, and we're very happy to service not only just the veterans, but their families.
That's fantastic. And it's important too, because when certain people like veterans come home from service, they're affected by a lot of what they've had to endure, what they've had to go through, and that also reflects into the families. Or do you have any special programs for the family specifically?
So the programs that we have is more, it's one-to-one talk therapy, and the therapists that work with families are experienced in working with the whole system. So how that would work is like the family would come in, they would do a general intake with the therapist, and the therapist would then determine what pathways forward there would be for healing, or whatever it is that the family is looking for. So it's really a very personalized and specialized program for each family that comes in.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what are some of the issues that you may have with trying to get veterans to come in for that kind of service? 'Cause I know PTSD has a tendency of being something that people put off. They don't think about it. They don't think they have it.
Yeah.
What are some of those barriers I think maybe we can push through?
Yeah, so I would say awareness, and also I should mention that we are in network with TRICARE, which there are not many clinics or treatment facilities around that do offer that for an insurance payment option.
Yeah.
So really, like I was saying, it's really awareness, spreading awareness on PTSD. I mean, some people, like you said, they might not even be fully aware that what they're having, what they're experiencing is it, or if they are, maybe they're ashamed and they don't, they're not accustomed to reaching out for help.
Yeah.
So I think just helping spread that message that, you're not alone. You there is help for you. You don't have to suffer in silence, which is unfortunately a lot of people do. I think too, even like you think about men in general, a lot of times we're raised to have to be strong,
you got to bury your emotions.
Like maybe the only emotion that was okay to express was anger. And the other emotion was suppress that, don't talk about that, keep very stoic, which I think that is sort of a stigma that is sort of now becoming less so, but it's still there. It's still very a lot of men do still struggle with that.
Yeah.
So just kind of letting people know, whether it's men and women too, obviously, that there is help available. You don't have to suffer in silence. There are methods of treatment that can legitimately help. That's in the science based, research based. It's not just talking through stuff. There is like what I said with EMDR, the way that I'm not, I don't have all the exact science behind it, but the way that it works by having a person recall their trauma. And generally, while you're recounting the traumatic experience, the therapist is going to have you moving like your eyes, and there's going to be some sort of a stimulus with using like the left and right hemisphere of the brain.
Yeah.
Whatever it does, it was almost discovered accidentally too. But whatever it does, it takes that trauma that's stored somewhere in the body and puts it into where normal memories are stored. So trauma is kind of like it's registered in the body. The way that the brain and the body experience it is that the traumatic event is happening right now, even though it might have happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's like it's happening, whatever triggers it, your body goes into that fight or flight mode and it starts experiencing it as if it's happening right now.
Yeah.
And it's really scary for somebody that's like, just going through their day to day, just trying to live their life normally. And whatever happens that might triggers it, they find that they're immediately catapulted into this process in their body that their anxiety, panic attacks, extreme emotions. So the way that EMDR works is that it takes that memory and it whatever the process is with like that left to right stimulus, takes it from there and places it into just like the working normal memory. And that's how it kind of gets processed, that a person can then, after having gone through this process of EMDR therapy, they can live a normal life free of these symptoms.
That's interesting. So it's like compartmentalizing the trauma, but bringing it into your more, I guess, surface conscious mind, so that it's not a sub emotional response that you get. Like, for instance, there's a lot of fireworks that go off in the neighborhood.
Right.
Fireworks immediately make me think of gunfire. And so I start to think, is that gunfire or is that fireworks?
Yeah.
What do I do? What should I do? Should I tell everybody to lay down? Those are the things that pop into my head. So those are, I also didn't understand that I had PTSD until someone told me that checking my front door like 3 or 4 times before I go to bed is not normal.
Right, having that sort of like needing to control your surroundings in such a way to sort of like suppress whatever anxiety that's being bubbling to the surface.
I'll check my basement door. I know my basement door is locked solid, but before I go to bed, I gotta go check it and make sure that I didn't do something or like second natured something, whereas I left something undone or unlocked on my windows, anything like that. Sometimes my wife will open a window and just for some air, but I also recognize that people can crawl along the roof, so I don't want the window open. All those are signs of PTSD. Protection also, your family, you want to protect your family and everything like that, but a lot of those didn't really register to me as PTSD until I started actually doing more of this podcast and communicating, talking to people like you.
Yeah, that's really it's interesting, and that's why like just spreading awareness is really important, and something that us at Ellie, we are passionate about. Because there are a lot of people that not until you started talking about it or somewhere somehow you saw some content on it, you're like, wait a second, start connecting the dots and say, wait, this what I'm going through isn't necessarily normal in terms of this wouldn't have happened had I not had these experiences in my past. There's a really great book too. I forget the name of the author, but the name of the book is The Body Keeps the Score.
The Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah, it's really good on kind of like understanding PTSD and what causes it, why it happens, and how to manage it.
That's really cool. Thanks for that. Maybe put that in a link so people can find that book and
absolutely
learn a little bit more about it. Tell us a little bit more about Ellie Mental Health.
Yeah. Okay. So Ellie Mental Health is a company that was founded in Minnesota by Aaron Pash, who was a therapist. They wanted to change the culture of mental health in terms of how it is structured in a therapist-forward way. So a way that helps eliminate burnout, keeping caseloads low, but still giving therapists a healthy living wage, good a good means of making the kind of money they want to make.
Yeah.
I've worked in a lot of clinics where they will load you with 40 clients, 50 clients. And I did a lot of my work in drug and alcohol there. The limit is about, I think it's 30 or 35. Though when those numbers start to rise, and especially in drug and alcohol, there's not only are you working with, if it was just working with the person itself, that would be one thing. But then there is half the work is then documentation, paperwork, making sure that everything lines up with all the regulations of the state. Having to do drug tests, having to call, make sure the family is aware of what's happening, and and it becomes a lot. With that, you get burnout. Burnout is it's not a good thing for a therapist, because when you're burnt out, it's hard for you to give to the person in front of you, which a person in front of you who's like, your client, you need to be fully present with them. You need to be helping them connect dots. You need to be listening to what they're saying, how they're saying it, with the way they're, even their paraverbal cues, like how they're positioned, if they're like uncomfortable, if their arms are, you have to be looking at all these things, active listening, and for an hour, which is, it's a long time to be very present with somebody, and to also be considering what they've been going through, like remembering all the other sessions that led up, so you can help them come to the insights that they need to come to. I mean, the way that myself and I would say all of our therapists operate here is that we know that the client is the expert on their life. They have all the insight that they need, but whatever it is that's blocking them from gaining that insight is what we're there to help them find on their own, so they can find their own answers. So Ellie Mental Health was created with that in mind, wanting to make sure that the therapist is staying healthy, their mind, the body, and their bank account, so they can be a happy, glowing therapist.
Nice.
That model worked so well over in Minnesota that they franchised it, and it's been spreading all throughout the nation. I think there's 100+ Ellies from the nation. In Pennsylvania alone, there are, I want to say 6 or 7. Each Ellie itself is independently owned and operated.
Nice.
Our Ellie here in Malvern, Pennsylvania, is owned by Ben and Chrissy Dutka. Ben is he's military, and he'll tell you as well. And Chrissy, she comes from a military family, and hearing her experience of like growing up on the bases, moving from state to state, not having a lot of stability in terms of that, it was a really unique experience. And her and Ben, were able to bond and connect over their experience with the military.
That's awesome. That's really cool. That's great information. I had no idea that there was a network. That's great. So here's something that I guess I wonder sometimes. What makes a good therapist?
That's a great question. So just as many of unique people as there are in the world, there are an equivalent of unique therapists to fit that person. It's never a one size fit all, because different people have different needs, and relate to different styles of therapy. I would say that most therapists that have been doing this for a while start to develop their own style. The most important thing that any good therapist will tell you, that is the most necessary thing in therapy, is building a therapeutic relationship, a strong therapeutic relationship. If in the first session I start like challenging you, and maybe, which we all need to be challenged, and sometimes hard for us to challenge ourselves. If I didn't develop that rapport and that therapeutic relationship with you, you're going to say, I can't listen to this person. They don't know me. So a good therapist is one that can build rapport, can build trust, can develop that therapeutic relationship in an authentic, sincere way. And on top of that, I would say that authenticity and sincerity is the most important thing too. Most people can sort of feel when somebody is maybe speaking from like a textbook or being inauthentic, so I would say that the best therapists are able to speak from like their foundation of experience, and the knowledge that they've gained from their school, but then also from their experience working in the field, working with different types of folk, and learning different patterns, and But yeah, really finding their own voice as a therapist.
Yeah.
One that can be caring, and also too just know how to connect to that person so that person can come to their own truth, so that person can connect to themselves, heal and work through whatever blockages or pain they've experienced in the past, so that they can. And the idea is that with therapy is that you want to leave therapy. You don't want to be in therapy forever. You want to come and get that thing where one of the best days is when the client is saying like, hey, I've done all this growth in this amount of time that we've been working together. I feel like I don't need therapy anymore.
Yeah.
That's amazing when that happens.
We'll be right back after this.
We created VetFest as a way to bring together not only veteran organizations that have food or vendors, but also the service organizations that serve the veteran community, as well as people that just are veteran supporters.
This is our first year at VetFest. We jumped at the opportunity. We love supporting veterans. I'm a veteran.
There are so many vendors, participants, veterans.
I had no idea just how big it is. There are so many vendors out here, so much fun. I'm loving the live music.
So today we have some of our tadpole obstacles set up. That's our kids course. We brought out everything from walls to carries, crawls. We have a rope swing.
Great to be at VetFest. I'm a veteran myself in the United States Navy.
This is Team Foster's second time at VetFest. Super excited to be out here. Lots of amazing vendors, great energies, fantastic people.
This year, the thing that I enjoy the most is just to see the success of all the different vendors and the excitement that they're having about being here, potentially coming back next year, and even adding to this, adding more vendors and adding more veteran-owned organizations that can just raise the awareness of what veterans are capable of.
Now back to Shots on the Go.
It's funny. I think about this sometimes. I think about what are some of the most, what do you say? Well, now we say pandemic-proof jobs, and like one is like, what is it? Funerals.
Yeah.
What's the other one? Food.
Or like any like plumbing.
Yeah.
Like trade stuff.
Yeah. Trade stuff definitely.
Yeah.
But I also want to say therapy needs to be added to that mix. We see a lot. We do a lot. We experience a lot, and it's important to be able to have comfort and trust in the therapeutic system to be able to like fix those things, to help you deal with those things. Because like I think we feel alone. We feel alone a lot in our minds because we're constantly trying to work things out, for ourselves. And sometimes you need that third person. You need that somebody outside to look in on you and say, hey, just say some of these things out loud to yourself. And how does it sound to you? Because our inner voices don't sound the same. When you say it out loud and you say it to someone's face, you're like, damn, I just fixed my own problem.
That's always how that's how it goes.
Yeah.
It's like, it's because it's like an echo chamber in your mind, and it is like it is like this isolating experience.
Yeah.
And you say it out loud, and then maybe like the therapist is just like, well, why would you do that? Why do you think that? Or why is that?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I guess I never thought about why.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, it's like, wait, I guess there is. And now next thing you know, you're developing, you're growing, and you're gaining insight and looking at yourself from different perspectives, different angles, and having that person in front of you is key to that.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that AI will never replace.
No.
I think I did even see that there is like they're developing some sort of AI therapy, and it makes me laugh because as much as like they can program into an AI everything that a therapist would potentially say, you're never having that like heart-to-heart personal connection, which we as a human race, it's a need. That connection it's a real need, and that's why that even virtual, at least there's somebody there. But in person or virtual, there are two minds, two hearts that are connecting, and from that's that connection between us. That's like it's almost like you're creating a new thing. There's like my point, your point. And then when these 2 points meet, there's like this new connection that was created, and that it's like a beautiful thing that happens in therapy, and that's like where a lot of the healing happens. Is that that connection between us that we both have contributed to.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you can't you lose that obviously when you don't have that that personal touch, you know.
Absolutely.
So, having said that, how do you feel about virtual mental health?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it depends, you know. There's a place for virtual. I always prefer in person, personally,
Yeah.
just because you can just feel a person in a more qualitative way
Yeah.
than you could virtual. But having said that, I've had amazing experiences with virtual clients as well, where it almost feels like the barrier between the screen is gone, and it's like you're connecting on an upper level, on another level.
Yeah.
That despite the screen, you know, it's still there's this connection that's taking place between the therapist as a therapist and for the client. That healing and growth can still happen for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another question that I had in my mind, because I realized that when you're in a room together with someone, that there's a different feeling or a sense of connection,
Yeah.
like you said, versus being on a screen where you don't quite get that, but it still seems to resonate.
Yeah, it does resonate, and you know, a lot of these barriers, like the screen or whatever, it is kind of created by our mind too. You know, we imagine that it's less impactful, maybe, and not everybody, but some people, that that it's different having this screen in between us, but and obviously, like, there is that physical difference.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if we can open ourselves up to one another, you know, I think that, you know, the connection between us, it's there really is no time and space that can separate it.
Yeah.
So the screen, you know, it's a vessel for two people to connect with, and if you can be open to it, and maybe remove some of the barriers and obstacles that you've created in your mind surrounding it, it can still be as powerful and impactful of an experience.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So how can people find Ellie Health?
Great question. So you can find Ellie Mental Health in Malvern. You can use Google, just type in Ellie, Ellie, Malvern. From there, you know, the Google list will come up. You can click on our link, which should be the first link. When you type that in, there will be a phone number that you can call. There's also a web form that you can fill out. Yeah, and I will just go out on a limb. If anybody, listeners, you can always just email me directly too, and I can help find you the therapist. And we have a lot of therapists. A lot of, you know, each therapist has their own specific style, their own specific experience, different populations they work with. I can give that personal touch, and I can help, you know, link you up with find you the right fit, get you scheduled with that therapist. My email is tdevitis, that's T as in Tom, DEVITIS, T as in David, E as in egg, V as in Victory, I as in Indiana, T as in Tom, I as in Indiana, S as in Samuel, at elliementalhealth.com.
Nice. Definitely reach out, y'all, if you need this help, especially a lot of our veteran population. I know you're out there dealing with things that you may have, you know, not really figured out a way to handle yet. So this is a great opportunity to reach out to somebody that can help you. Let's get rid of the stigmatism of not being able to talk about mental health, especially in the military. Active military is the same way. You know, like, even though you're in there, there's like this weird stigma about mental health.
You're not tough.
You're not tough enough. Right. Or there's something's off, or you're broken or something, you know, and that's not fair, especially understanding what you're dealing with. No one can deal with that, especially like same with our first responders. You know, like, these are people that are dealing with things that on a normal basis, average people aren't dealing with this.
Absolutely, yeah. And I you know, that's something I'm definitely really passionate about, and I hope that stigma can get broken. You know, I mean, it is developing and changing, and it is, you know, starting to fade a bit, but it's still there. And in certain pockets, in certain people, it's stronger than others.
Yeah.
And you know, we're not islands. We've never, as a human race, have ever been more or less isolated. We've grown up in like tribes, villages, towns, communities. You know, we've always had the support of others, and you know, modern society with like technology, you know, we can live more isolated lives, but it's not natural. And we do need the help of one another in order to thrive and survive. That's always been the case, and mental health is no different.
Like they say, it takes a village.
It does take a village. I agree with that.
Well, thank you so much for your time
absolutely.
today, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys at VetFest.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for the opportunity. This has been great. I've really enjoyed talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
On behalf of Greencastle, your nation's premier strategy execution firm, I'm your host, Al Green, and we'll see you in the next episode.